Welcome to another photo review video. Today I'm going to take 20 images that you sent to the email that's here in the video description, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a critique. Always with a little bit of stock photography in mind, because I think it's a great way to learn and practice. If you want to send photos, please only send one because I have quite a few waiting. All right, let's start with the very first photo of the day, and it's this green leaf thing here, this little plant growing. It looks okay. I mean, the focus is right here in the middle, which is good. But the leaf with the water drops, look at the patterns, look at how cool that looks. And for that to be out of focus, it's kind of like, You're also cutting the tip of this leaf off here in the corner, which looks good. If that's your subject and you're cutting part of it off, that's a big no-no. If you look at composition, you also have dead space in the top, and there's this little distracting element here, and then again on the other side. Bring the camera down and make it about your subject, and I think it would be a little bit stronger. As it is, it's not gonna get accepted for stock. There's some things in the background that just, compression, I believe. I don't have any details on the photo, so I don't know how it was made. I'm gonna give it 1 out of 5. Just a couple of tweaks, and I think it will look a lot better. But when I'm talking about composition, if I could add where that leaf is, I think something tighter like that would be a little bit better. But anyway, let's go on to the next photo. All right, next photo. Now we have a road. There's got a leading line, but look at all the wires and distortions in the top. Now this was shot at 50th of a second, 5.6, ISO 100, good camera settings. The problem is focus. I don't know where it focused. Let me look down here. And it doesn't have that kind of detail with the 18 to 55 at 55 millimeter. I think you missed focus, and that's why nothing has detail. And I mean, it's a okay photo, but it's not gonna get accepted for stock. It just doesn't have the quality necessary. I think you sent me the photo a long time ago, and since you got a new camera and you're doing way better. I know not everything is gear, but gear is very important, and kit lenses are not my favorite because they always have diffractions and distortions, and you can see here that it's not very sharp. And I believe this was because of missed focus. Since the photo, see, there's no detail back here. Since the photo's not gonna get accepted, I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5, and that's just because your composition is very good. The rest, not so much. I mean, the lines blocking the view and that kind of stuff, that's not perfect, but the S-curve in the road, that's a good try. So 2 out of 5. Next. All right, now we have pretty. That's a beautiful landscape. The boat in the background, the waves, it looks good. Is this just 100%? Because it looks like nothing has detail. Where's my zoom? That's a 1:1. Huh. Do you see what I'm seeing? Like nothing seems sharp. It just seems kind of soft at 1%. So this is a 24 millimeter, 2 seconds at f13, ISO 64. Good camera settings. F13 should give you good depth of field. I just don't see where the focus is. Without focus, your photo's not really, it's not gonna do anything. In this case, I'm gonna say 2 out of 5. It has potential. The leading lines with the fog, with the foam here on the beach look good. The other ship back there looks really good as well. The waves, the timing, everything looks good. It just doesn't have focus. Now, the other thing is the sky. You can see all these other colors in the sky. There's purples and just way too saturated, the blues and all the other stuff. If you could bring that down just slightly, I could tell the sky was recovered, and it's just a little bit too much. Remember horizons, try to put them on a third, whether it's the upper third or the bottom third, when you do a composition. Right now the clouds look good, but they're a little distracting. If you drop this like that, leaving that ship maybe a little more, so you have more of the island or the mainland and those lines in the foam, I think that will improve the photo just a little bit, just literally by putting a horizon on the upper third. But like I said, lack of detail because of the focus, which I really can't see where it focused. It's not helping here. Maybe it was camera movement at 2 seconds, I don't know. Nice try, 2 out of 5 on that one. Let me reset this. All right, now we have somebody putting down a smiley face on, I mean, a good concept. As far as the photograph, where's the focus? It focused here in the front of the leaf and not where the action is. So you're gonna lose a point there. It's on an angle, so you're gonna lose a point there as well, because you can't it's not flat. It has limited use because of the angle it's on. If it was top down, it'd be a lot easier. Now it's hard to do when you're doing your own, but this is where you need a chair, a tripod, anything so that you can get your own photo with a good composition. In this case, the composition is off. The lighting is off a little bit. That might be just from the lens in the corners. The concept is good. It just needs to be a little bit better executed. So in this case, I'm gonna say 2 out of 5. Because you missed the focus, composition, and the editing because of the corners are very dark. Next. All right, colored pencils. I know these have been done before many times and they do sell, but I think the sellability is a little bit low now. Your focus is pretty good. This pen has some marks here on the top. All of them do, they're well used. And they look sharpened by a knife instead of a pencil sharpener, which I like, it gives it character. The white is not completely white. The focus is good, the leading line is good. As far as the photograph, it's fine. I don't see any logos anywhere, so I'm gonna give this one 3 out of 5 because the commercial value is a little low and it could benefit from being a little bit brighter, maybe isolating it completely on white. Just a little bit of brightness like that, and bring up the shadow just slightly. It's not completely isolated yet, but just a little bit of brightness can give it just a little bit of pop. And that's gonna make it easier to find on a grid, which will in turn be more sales. Now, as far as camera settings, I don't have anything. It looks a bit noisy, and that might just be because I lifted the shadows, but it shouldn't be that noisy. So anyway, 3 out of 5, better, good shot, just it could improve with the edit and maybe just make it a little bit brighter. Something like this is exposure compensation would help. The reason is the camera is trying to expose, but there's a lot of white, so it's gonna underexpose. I have a lot of tutorials on this on my new photography course that I've released here in the channel, so if you're interested, I'll put a link in the video description. Next photo, cool, ice cream cone with the wafer. That looks like a good photo. Let me see, focus. It's very shallow depth of field. You can see that the one side of the wafer has focus, the other side doesn't. I know the whole point is to blur the background. You have the guy here, so you don't need a model release. The composition's a bit off. If the cone was more to the left of the screen, you'd be able to frame it better and differently. The fact that you have the fingers in the bottom, that's a little distracting. So I would just do a quick crop with something like this. Just literally just take the fingers out of there so it's not distracting. And just by putting the cone on the other third, you can see how much better it looks. It'd be better if you could have the whole hand holding the ice cream cone, because now it's more of a concept. But I think something like this might be okay. The lack of focus, the lack of depth of field might not get the photo accepted. Every time I try something shallow, it doesn't get accepted. This was at 2.8 with a 32 millimeter. Wow, that's a lot of depth. Interesting. Good camera settings, you need ISO 500 to hold steady. Your hand holding the ice cream and your camera. So good camera settings there, good choice. I wish I had a little bit more detail on the cone itself, but as it is, good job, just the composition and the detail. So I'm gonna go with 3 out of 5 on this one as well. Next, here we have a castle, we have a flag, and we have an airplane that makes it more of a travel photo. So it's a good picture. There's not much to say here because it's a good photo. It's got good detail, it's got focus, the corners seem okay. Camera settings are fine. 6/48 of a second, ISO 100, 7.1. Airplane is sharp. You waited for the airplane or got lucky, I don't know which one. I want to say you waited. The flag is straight out, there's no blur, it's good and sharp. It's just limited use. I'm gonna say 3 out of 5. It looks good, I think it could be used. I just don't know how much or how many sales it's got. I don't believe something like this is gonna be a bestseller. And that's based on my experience because I have a lot of similar photos that don't sell that much. Once in a while here and there, but yeah, as far as a travel story, telling the travel story, I think it's a good photo. If you're adding a whole bunch of photos from this trip, this will help sellability. Next. Okay, now we have a Mojito. Cool. A few things, it looks blurry. There's motion blur here. That's a 1/100th of a second, f4, ISO 800. So it's not gonna get accepted. Other than that, it looks, I mean, that coaster thing looks fine. It's kind of big. It's probably be better without it. Less is more when it comes to drinks. There's a lot of black space. Remember, when you're doing something on a black background, it could always be extended. How much room do you have here? You're at, I believe you can still crop it because I can zoom in quite a bit at one to one. So if you just make it more about the drink and crop it down, even something like that where it's literally the drink on a plate kind of thing, I think something like that would be a little bit more sellable, just get closer. But in this case, it's blurred, motion blurred, so it's not gonna get accepted. So no matter what you do to it, it's still not, it's not gonna be a stock photo. 2 out of 5, nice try, lighting's good. I like the ice cubes, I like the mint, everything's well lit. The lime is hidden, maybe show a little bit more of the lime. 2 out of 5, 2 out of 5, because it's blurry. Okay, now we have a selfie travel photo, the leading, kind of like a leading line, that looks good. Good concept. I would have liked to see the face of the people, like if they just turn around and then you see the fence here that leads the viewer. You're kind of blocking that, just one step back and turning the camera angle just a little bit to keep more of that fence in the frame. I think it would have been much greater composition. I know you have you start with the fence here on the right and then they cut it and it goes away. I think if you just took a step to the right and looked down the line, showing more of their faces, because that's where the connection is, and maybe the phone here towards the camera like this, a little blurred, and the faces here, I think that would have made a stronger image, in my opinion, with more use. When you have people from the side, they look like they're posing, so it kind of brings down the sellability. You want to make it seem a little bit more authentic, like, you know, like literally like you don't know there's a camera there, and here you kind of get that feeling. It's a good photo. I'm gonna say 4 out of 5 because that's literally all I can think of here is the composition. Nice try, but we could always improve. Next. Cool. There's someone walking in the park. Great photo, great lines. The composition here is beautiful. The trees are beautiful. Wow. Okay, there's like a purple fringe here around this guy. All right, so that aperture 1.8 might be why you got that glare here in the subject, that purple fringe. That's gonna get rejected, or I've had photos rejected because of that. They call it technical issues. When you go here in the highlights, you can see how much of that purple's around the leaves here because it's blown out, or you just get that glare from and that's all your aperture. When you're shooting at 500th of a second, and it's a wide angle, so you're not gonna blur things in the distance. You can only blur things with the wide angle when they're close to you. You can see here the grass just has slightly out of focus, but that's more of a distortion than focus. So you're not really gonna blur that much. And when you have a whole landscape like this, you could do F5, F7, F8, and still maintain a fast enough shutter speed. So in this case, the camera settings are a little bit off. At 2/50th of a second, you'd be at f3.2. 1/25th, you would have been 6.4 aperture. ISO 200 to get a little more shutter speed, and I think the photo would have been better quality. So literally pay attention to your settings as much as possible. Composition is great. The travel photo is beautiful. A little bit less sellability because it's just one person. If you have a couple or maybe an older person with a walker, that would really enhance the sellability. Somebody helping somebody. These are all great ideas to photo shoot in this park here, that same location with different camera settings. So let's give it 3 out of 5 just because I love the composition. It's just that your camera settings are a little bit off. And because of your subject, your sellability is a little bit off as well. Next. Okay, thank you for being you. You're welcome. All right. ISO 100, f9, 2/50th of a second, great camera settings. That's gonna, see how there's not much distortion here in the corners? That's because of the camera settings. The one thing with this, let me get close. See that strand there? That might get rejected because there's hair on the photo. I know it's her hair, but it's kind of distracting there. Remember, this is commercial images, you wanna use them. But the biggest thing I see is that her eyes are leading outside of the photo. Yeah, the negative space is on the other side. So if we move that around and put the person with the sign on the other side, then it would lead into the photo and the text would have better space or better placement in the text. You want things leading in, and here we're leading out. So that's gonna lose a couple points. The rest looks good. I mean, focus is spot on. F9 is great. You can see that there's detail in everything. It's just that the composition, because of where the eyes are leading, is taken away from it. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. Because the only thing is that composition. Next. Cool, another one, same settings, same thing. See the eyes, they're leading away from the photo. The concept is great. Self-help, happy, positive thoughts. Lightroom, try to clean up this yellow hair here from the necktie or beard, whatever that is. But the eyes are leading out of the photo instead of in, and that's taken away from your photo. Put the subjects on the other side, and now you solve that problem. Again, 4 out of 5, same background, same thing, that's perfect. That's what I like to do with stock photos, just make more of the same thing, but try to lead into the photo instead of out of it. Next. Okay, here we have, that must be from an airplane, 90 seconds. No, that's from a top of a mountain. 90 seconds f11 at 100 ISO. Cool shot, I like it. I like the mountains, I like that the time of day is perfect for something like this. 90 seconds seems like a lot, but that's because you have an f11 and that gives it that starburst. And if it was getting too dark, you need that to get the sky and the mountains and everything else. It looks beautiful. Now it's got good detail, good sharp photo. This is the perfect travel photo for a city at night like this. Beautiful. Maybe a little contrast to make it pop a little more, but as it is, I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5. I'm just gonna mess around here a little bit. The horizon does look a little crooked because you can see the mountainside, the town. It might not be, but even just straighten it out a little bit like that, I think makes just a little bit of a difference, but you don't have to. Beautiful photo. 5 out of 5. That's a great travel location, destination kind of thing. The lights it captures, beautiful camera settings as well. So 5 out of 5. Let me hide this so I can see more of the photo. Next. Okay, so now we have a pen and pad. Good, simple. That's a good stock photo, what we need. If we get really technical here, you can see the spiral of the notebook in the back. That's a little distracting. If you literally just crop it a little bit, I think it will clean it up a little bit, give it a better use, make it a little bit easier to use. But the lines, everything leads into the photo, it looks good. The lines on the notebook lead to the top. Everything else leads to the other side, so that's perfect. I'm gonna give this one 4 out of 5. Literally just cropping it would have been 5 out of 5. The other thing I see here, no, that's my screen. It's a dirty screen. The other thing I can see is, see how noisy it looks here in the front? You probably recovered it, it's ISO 800. That might be what it is. A little bit of noise reduction can bring it down. That just lost a point, so it's gonna be 3 out of 5, because that's gonna get rejected for technical issues. And it's just that noisy thing here in the front, because maybe the shadows were dark and you brought them up and it was already ISO 800. So composition and camera settings, and processing, a little bit of noise reduction would have helped. So 3 out of 5. Next. Simple, great, welcome 2025. Perfect. This one I'm gonna say 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5. See the noise again? And that's ISO 1250, that's what it is, it's your ISO. You're gonna need a tripod if you wanna hold steady and bring that ISO down. Great image. If anything, take the wood out, make it easier to use. The less colors you have, the easier it's gonna be to use. Somebody can crop it, yes, but you could have done it as well, and it probably would have been a little bit more sellable. It's very nice try. It's just your composition and your camera settings. So just a little bit of noise reduction will help you with this photo, and hopefully it'll get accepted. 3 out of 5. Now let's go on to the next photo. Let me hide this. Okay, things to do, get organized, perfect. I'm so need to listen to this list. Okay, the focus, it looks like the focus is off here, and again, that's because it's a f1.8, very shallow depth of field. This is not gonna get accepted. The pen is in focus. ISO 400, you can see how much noise is here in the shadow. That had to have been recovered, so the processing is off as well. And then the wood, again, too many elements in the photo is gonna make it difficult to use. Literally just the photo of the to-do list, I think would have been so much simpler. It's so much better, and then adjust your camera settings. You could drop ISO 200, shutter speed 100, but your aperture 1.8 is not helping. You need a little bit more depth so you can read everything and to see how sharp everything is. See, there's like distortion, that just means it's not in focus. and that's gonna get it rejected. So nice try. I think something like that will be perfect. The to-do list, stay organized. If you could fill it with, you know, diet, exercise, whatever's relevant today, I think that would be a good concept to shoot. Even though it might be a little saturated, you never know. That's way better handwriting than mine, so I think it would be a little bit more sellable. Because it's out of focus, composition, I'm gonna say 2 out of 5. Great concept, great idea, just needs a little bit of help in the execution. Next. Cool, I see what you did here. The lines, the blur, leading lines, even at f8, because you're so close to it, it creates that lines. But you can't really tell what that is. You got the train tracks there, which are great, but then the handrail here, it becomes a distraction. Your focus is on the people, which is good, even though they're looking away. And the buildings, everything else, that's ISO 400, f8, 50th of a second. It's fine. I just find that the foreground's a little distracting. I like shooting through things. Here, there's too much of it, if that makes sense. The lines leading up to it are great, and it goes right to the middle. Having this other thing here framing everything kind of looks good as well. The sky just kind of washed out. There's other building over here, I want to see what it is, and it's not enough, so maybe cropping that out just a little bit and making it more about the middle of the photo, I think would have been better. It's hard to tell without being here. I'm gonna give this one a 4 out of 5, even though I don't like the composition. That's just me. But I could see all the work that went here and trying to frame it and line it up. Somebody else might like the thing. I just don't see a subject, which is the other thing. It's not clear what the subject is. And if you're trying to do a stock photo, that has to be the main thing. So against my thing, I'm gonna say 3 out of 5, just because of the amount of work that went in here. I could see all the composition, everything that went through your mind when you're trying to set it up. You're just missing the subject. Next. Okay. Ginger, is that ginger? It looks like it might be ginger. See the corners here? There's just some distortion. I believe that's a phone, 5G phone, IQ Z9 5G. Phones always have distortion, and I'm pretty sure that's what that is. The isolation, I mean, it's a great photo. It just has distortion. It's not gonna get accepted because of that. The shadows are a bit harsh. And you can see the paper, the ripples underneath. Definitely a computational photography trying to fill in and clean up the photo. 2 out of 5. If it was done with a camera on white, center the product on a white background, make it about the object, just clean up the edges so it's sharp. The sharpest part of a lens is always the middle. So if you put that in the middle on a white background, you don't care what's around it. It doesn't matter. You can use anything on white on anything. So you don't really need to do rule of thirds when you're shooting on a white background. And the phone, unfortunately, doesn't have the technical quality to make it a stock photo. See here the distortion, and that's where your focus is. So I'm gonna say 2 out of 5. Great attempt. It just needs better quality. And not only are the better image quality, but also light quality. Next, beautiful landscape. I like the reflection, balanced, leading lines. Even though it goes right to the middle, it still looks very pretty. I almost like the island better. If you could just frame the island and zoom in and make it about that. Up and down with the reflection, I think it would have been a little bit simpler. But as a landscape photo, it's beautiful. I'm gonna say 5 out of 5. As a stock photo, I just don't see the sellability, the concept, the use. But as a landscape, it's a beautiful, beautiful landscape. If we could put somebody here in this scene, taking a picture with their cell phone at this, that would make it a stock photo. Without a person there, it's just not a stock photo, it's just a beautiful landscape. But great job, 5 out of 5 as a landscape photo. I'm just, unfortunately for stock, I don't see that it's got that sales potential, but try it anyway. I've been wrong before many times. Next. Okay, that is a blurry photo of a moon, and it's not very big, so it's not gonna get accepted. It's very orange, which is the white balance. You need to recover that. This is gonna be 1 out of 5. It doesn't have what it takes, and it doesn't have the detail that it would need, besides it's being shaky. But see the white balance, it's just a little bit too, I don't know, it was probably a blood moon, but it just looks too orange and off. Maybe it was smoky in the sky. The lack of detail is not gonna help, so yeah, let's just go back to reset here and give it 1 out of 5. Okay, now, where did we go? We got a pet portraits, beautiful. Focus is perfect, ISO 1250, 25 of a second. That's, it's hard to hold still for a person, let alone a puppy. But it pulled it off. Great photo, I like it. Camera settings are pushing my limits. Even though it's a 6D that can handle higher ISOs, I don't see any noise, so they did great. I just like to be a little bit faster shutter speed so you know your photo is gonna be sharp. Because any movement at 25th of a second is gonna cause motion blur. Now the background has a little bit of a darker area. It needs a little bit better lighting on the background. You can see here up top and on the edge, it's got crinkles. That could be fixed easy. Maybe a little bit on the highlights and shadows. He looks a little warm because the camera reader, the meter, is getting thrown off by the yellow background. So we can kind of straighten it out a little bit. Maybe bring the crop down just to make it about the subject. Eyes on the upper third is one thing that I always recommend. Here, the eyes are barely in the upper third, something like that. Any client, anybody with a pet will be happy with something like that. It's a great memory shot. So, yeah, I'm gonna say 5 out of 5 on this one. Even though the background needs a little bit of help and maybe your lighting and camera settings, 4 out of 5. But it's a great job on this one. Is there more? Nope, that's the last photo of the day. So thank you very much everybody that sent photos. I know that having your photos critiqued is not the easiest thing out there. So I really do appreciate people that send the images because it helps a lot. So thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. My battery ran out just as I was gonna say bye, so bye.